want to first preface this by saying that I'm not complaining, Justin. You can just tell that a defensive player made all of these intros. Like almost all of them are big hits.
I mean,
that's fine.
Coming from the perspective of having been both a wide receiver and a safety, a lot of those were the fault of the quarterback, though. Like the quarterbacks in a lot of those plays just like laid the poor receiver out to get killed. And,
he's just asking to get.
Yeah, like as a head-hunting safety, that's what you're looking for is like that dump-off throw to the poor receiver that has no choice but to like catch the ball and just get completely blown up.
Hospital balls, they call them.
Our quarterback threw one like that to me one time, and I went back to went back to the huddle and grabbed him by his face mask. I said, "You do that to me again, I'm gonna beat your ass out here on the fucking field." Like, you throw that away. Don't throw that to me.
Did you ever get called for any roughing the passers as on a safety blitz or not much of a sack guy?
I safety blitzed one time, and I got hit by a fullback, and I wasn't sure I was gonna get up. At 6'5", 165 pounds, safety blitzes were really not my
not your forte. That makes sense.
Didn't have quite the ankle flexion to make the bend around and lateral agility, that sort of thing.
No, me approaching the line of scrimmage was. There's a reason safeties play 12 yards off the line of scrimmage, and because I have no business being anywhere near people that weigh that much.
I was going to say that I particularly enjoyed seeing the one on that clip of the Bills absolutely cleaning Brady's clock. I figured that Mark was going to like that one.
Yeah, I always enjoy to see Brady get clobbered like that.
I was going to ask about the one because I think several of those resulted in flags. I was going to ask about the one that it was Mahomes getting hit. Like it looked like he was maybe trying to slide, but depending on the angle, it also looked like he just like lost his footing and almost fell down. Like, was he trying to slide and they knocked him out, or did he just like fall down?
I joined late. I didn't see that one.
I may have been drinking my tea. We'll catch up the next time. But I had to lead in with the roughing the passer stuff since that seems to be the topic of the week. And then Matt had to bring Brady up. Which one was more egregious, that one or the Raiders one?
I think the Raiders one. Because, well, I don't know. Because technically the Raiders one was actually against the rules as the rules are outlined. He let his full body weight land on him, and you're not supposed to. You just can't do that. But I think I think that it was the more impactful one because there was a fumble involved, and if you have a bad call that directly affects a change of possession like that, I think that's even if the call is more excusable, it's more inexcusable because as the ref, you made a bigger impact on the game.
Magoo, they weren't going to come back anyways.
Hey, Magoo, you're not here. You don't get to have an opinion.
He wants the Falcons to lose anyway, so he was probably happy about the call. But that one was a bad call too. I was watching that one live. And I was like, Brady just got one of his calls. But then to see, it was more, I think the other one, I agree with you, Matt. And then another reason that I do agree with you is Derek Carr doesn't typically get those calls.
Yeah.
That was actually a comment that was made on Twitter after that. It was like, Derek Carr got that Brady call.
Mm-hmm.
Poor Buck. I'm glad that we know that Buck is still alive and well since he's been in our group chat, because I probably would disappear for a couple days if my team loses like that.
I mean, hey, I'm a Mariners fan, and that was painful yesterday.
I have no idea what even happened.
Oh, God. The Mariners, did you see what happened with them with the Blue Jays, the way that they eliminated the Blue Jays in the wild card round? So it's a 3-game series, and all 3 games are at the higher seeds home field. And the Mariners beat him in the first game because they had Luis Castillo pitching, and he just absolutely trucked the Blue Jays. And in the second game, Blue Jays were up 8-1 in the 6th inning, I think, and the Mariners came back and beat him 10-9, and to eliminate them and move on, win the series, and move on to the next round.
Nice.
So, of course, the next round that they have to go through is the Astros, who are like the one team in the majors this year who have consistently had their number. The Mariners were like one of the best teams in the league through like the latter 2/3 of the season. And one of the only teams that was better than them was the Astros, who were the team directly ahead of them in their division, the cheating masters. And so they went out in their first game against them. So now it's a 5-game series. So it's 2 in Houston, 2 at home, 1 back in Houston. And Luis Castillo is pitching the second game in Houston, and he's as close as you can get to a guaranteed win because he's so dominant right now. And so everyone was expecting they're going up against Verlander in the first game in Houston, and Verlander has been just a buzzsaw this year, especially with the Mariners. So it was kind of like, all right, yeah, they're not going to win the first game. Just it is what it is. You just got to win the second one with Castillo and take it back to Seattle 1-1 and try to win both games at home. And they came out and knocked Verlander out in 4 innings. They put 6 runs up on him in 4 innings. They had 2 separate 4-run leads on the Astros, and in the bottom of the 9th inning, they had 2 outs. They were up by 2. They had 2 outs, and back-to-back hitters, they got to 2 strike counts on it. They were literally 1 strike away. First guy, number 9 hitter, pinch hitter, they plunked him, put him on base. Next guy up, they get to 2 strikes on him. This is one of the Mariners' best relievers of the year. The Mariners' bullpen has been absolutely nails, but they're starting to wear down. And he served up a 1-2 meatball. Guy hit a single into center field. So men on first and second. Best hitter in baseball, Yordan Alvarez, was coming in. I mean, it's him and Aaron Judge. It's tomato. And so big lefty. So the Mariners decide to go to the bullpen and bring in Robbie Ray, who was last year's Cy Young winner with the Blue Jays. He's a strikeout pitcher, lefty, those 2 pitches, and he's been really up and down this year. He gave up the 2nd most home runs in baseball, and he got absolutely torched by the Astros multiple times this year. Scott Service decides to go to him in relief because it's a lefty-lefty matchup. He threw the guy 2 pitches. First pitch, 93-mile-an-hour fastball in the center of the plate. Guy swung out of his shoes, fouled it off. Next pitch, 93-mile-an-hour fastball, center of the plate, just down and in, like the sweet spot for a lefty power hitter. The dude hit it 117 miles an hour out, 450 feet out to right field for a walk-off 3-run home run, which was the first time in baseball history. So we're talking back to like the 1870s, since the Civil War. It was the first time that a team has hit a walk-off home run from a losing position.
Wow.
And particularly by losing by multiple runs, but I think it was a losing position, period. Every other walk-off home run had been from a tied position.
Wow.
So it was just an absolute shot to the nuts. Easily the most devastating loss in Mariners franchise history. And
after 20 years of not making the playoffs, and
yeah, someone said that actually playoff baseball is bad, and that the Mariners' playoff drought was actually a grace to them from the baseball gods, because someone else had the best tweet. Everyone keeps retweeting it over and over again each day. They said that playoff baseball is watching a loved one defuse a bomb, and that couldn't be more true. It's so agonizing. You
brought up Verlander, right? I'm a hot and cold Tigers fan, which basically when the Tigers are doing well, I'm the biggest fan, and when they suck, which is now, then I don't pay attention at all. But on one hand, I'm happy that Verlander got his Astros have 1 ring, right, since he got there.
Yeah, the cheater ring.
The cheater ring.
Yeah.
I'm happy he got that, but on the other hand, it was sad that he was on so many good rotations in Detroit, and they made 2 World Series and didn't play well in either of them. Like there was Verlander, Scherzer, David Price, and I think Porcello were all in the same rotation at one point.
Was that the same year that they had? This could be way off. The year they had Armando Villarreal, was that his name? The guy,
Yeah.
the guy who was throwing a perfect game.
Oh yeah. I can't remember how you pronounce his name, but you're close to it. Yeah. They call it, what would he call him, safe at first? Jim
Yeah, he
Joyce,
called
the
him
umpire.
Jim
Yeah.
Joyce. Yeah, he called him safe, and the guy was out by like a full step.
Yeah. It wasn't even that close.
Yeah, it wasn't even close. Like that. I mean, he composed himself and he got the very next out. Like it wasn't, he finished it out. But man, that had to just like not even remotely close.
I was mad. The next game, he was calling the next game, Jim Joyce was. And Tigers fans want to be like these real classy people and like forgive the ump for screwing their pitcher out of a perfect game or whatever. So they actually gave him a standing ovation the next day. And I was like, this is BS. Like, boo the guy. Just boo.
He was crying in the post-game interview.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he
afterward.
was fine about it. But
he ended up writing. I think they wrote a book together, the two of them.
Oh,
it was Armando Galarraga. That's what his name was.
Maybe I shouldn't be such a dick, but I just wanted him booed.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting in baseball now. They have, I've been saying this for years, that they need to have statistics for umpires and they need to be publicly published. Like it needs to be out in the open. Umpires need to have rankings. Like this is the umpire that consistently gets calls wrong. And they actually have that now. There's a Twitter account that posts they've got calculations for the balls and the strikes that were strikes that were called wrong. So there was a strike, but it was called a ball, and then balls that were called wrong, where it was a strike. Yeah, it was a ball that was called a strike.
Mm-hmm.
And then based on that, so they do a report card at the end of every game for each umpire. And based on that, they calculate the number of runs that the umpire cost one team or gave another team. And now they're accumulating statistics for the umps. So I think it's just a matter of time before I'm torn on this because I don't want to go full robots necessarily.
Yeah.
Just because, I don't know, just completely automating a part of the game like that just feels like it'll kind of take the sporting aspect of it away. But at the same time, I mean, you've got some of these guys like, what's his, their names just completely, CD Buckner is one of them. And Angel Hernandez, that's the guy. These guys who are consistently year after year egregiously bad. And they're like arrogantly egregiously bad. It's like they gloat that they are so bad that they're costing teams games because they're just getting calls just blatantly wrong, whether it's safe out calls or ball strike calls. And it's one thing if you make a mistake. Like I understand, like you're not going to get everything absolutely perfectly. But if you're making calls egregiously wrong and you're doing it consistently on a trend, you shouldn't continue to be in the position that you're in. And a football coach or any sporting coach or manager that does that is going to have to answer questions to the press. He's going to get crucified to the press. Any player who consistently fucks up his job, he's going to get crucified and he's going to have to answer questions. But somehow it's off limits to do the same thing to umpires. And that doesn't make any sense to me at all. I think that if umpires are screwing up calls in any sport, then their name needs to be in headlines and they need to be lambasted. How did you miss this? How is this bad? How do you keep missing these things? There's a trend with you making the wrong call here. What are you doing to change the fact that you, someone who's not personally invested in the game at all, are like disproportionately determining the outcome in one direction or the other? I think it's appalling that isn't already the case. I don't know if there's like umpires unions are paying off media outlets or what, but hopefully that's something that can actually start coming to pass with football. I mean, if they're going to start making some of these things challengeable from the booth, then perhaps there can be some dynamic here where if you're an ump or a referee whose calls are getting challenged really often and getting overturned really often, then there's going to be consequences for you somehow. You're going to get suspended for X number of games. And I know these guys most of them aren't full time, so that would probably hurt if they had to sacrifice some game checks.
Yeah.
Well, and like on the umpires, talking about them, I was actually watching a little bit of baseball over the summer and paying attention when things were kind of slow and wasn't a whole lot else going on. And there were a couple umps in different games that I was watching that it wasn't so much that, well, I mean, it was that they were missing calls, but also they were erratic. Like I umpired Babe Ruth League, the junior high, and then the younger high school age Babe Ruth leagues. I guess it was 12 through 14, and then the 15 through 17. I didn't do like the senior leagues. But anyway, I did Babe Ruth and then also softball in the same age brackets. And like I had a consistent strike zone. It was, a little bit low probably for some batters and a little bit to the outside for some batters. But that was the way I set up, and that was the way I called strikes. But I was consistent with it. And a lot of these guys, like, you would watch their strike zones, and it wasn't even it wasn't like it was consistently off to the outside, or they were consistently calling balls that were low strikes. Like, they were just all over the place. Like, there was no rhyme or reason to it. And as a hitter, if you know that the umpire is going to call that low ball a strike, or is going to call that ball on the outside a strike, then you adjust your plate approach based on that. But if you have no idea from plate appearance to plate appearance where the strike zone is, then like you're just fucked. And that was one game that I was watching that, like, you could watch from inning to inning, and the guy's strike zone would just change. Like, the same ball that was thrown in the exact same spot last inning that was a strike is a ball this inning, and then next inning it's a strike again. Like, there was no consistency whatsoever. It was crazy. And like you said, like, these umpires just that's their right as far as they're concerned. Like, they are allowed to lord over the hitters and be dickheads and just dictate the game like that. And that's not the reason that you umpire. That's not the reason that you referee when you go into that job. The reason you do it is supposed to be to ensure fair and even play and make sure that things are being done. Like, everybody's safe. It's all above board. There's nothing, like, no chicanery going on. You're not supposed to be the one creating the chicanery.
Right. Exactly. That's unforgivable to me.
So still on the topic of officiating, so in the Big Ten, there are like certain crews who Michigan fans hate to see, because it seems like they have a grudge against Harbaugh, because Harbaugh gets in the face of refs all the time. And I'm sure this happens in the pros as well. So it's not so much inconsistent like strike zone with ref officiating in football. Like, there's actual like personality grudges. And this is the same in basketball as well. Like, you saw this in the NBA with Donahue and certain players back in the early 2000s, where he would call a lot more fouls on Chauncey Billups because he hated Billups. Did you ever get any warnings from refs, Justin?
Yes, I had one that we didn't get along. He threw me out of three. He threw me out of 3 separate basketball games.
Oh, he threw you out. Nice. I was always so mad. I got 2 brothers. They both got technical fouls in their basketball career, and all I got were warnings. And I probably did more egregious things, but whatever.
It was his name was Ronnie, and if he was reffing, there was a good chance I was getting thrown out of the game.
Nice. All right. Let's talk about football. Unless there's more baseball stuff.
No.
Okay.
Please, anything but baseball.
I did want to talk about some chicanery. I mentioned it in the chat, and I don't know if y'all happen to go back and watch it. The Dallas Rams game, where the Rams punt returner kept playing like he was going to return the ball and then would take a shot at the gunner. Did y'all happen to watch that or catch that, or like?
I didn't see it. I saw you mention it, but I didn't see it.
Yeah, that was weird. I'd never seen a return guy do that. So what he was doing is he was setting up and he was watching the ball, pretending he was watching the ball. And as the gunner approached, the ball is clearly going over his head and he knows it. And instead of like trying to make a play on the ball or just get out of the way, he would duck and try to like take a shot at the gunner's knees. Like that, having played both sides of that as being both a return guy and being one of the gunners, because as a gunner, like your job isn't to track the ball. Your job is to track the return guy, right? So like the only thing I'm worried about is he going to catch the ball? I've got to watch for that hand because I can't, I don't want to break the bubble. Like, but at the same time, if he's like looks like he's about to return the ball, I'm zeroing in that I'm about to kill him, and then all of a sudden, like he changes direction and he drops and tries to take my knees out. Like the first time he did that, okay. The second time he does that, I'm trying to break him in half. Like he's not walking home. Like that's bullshit. They said that so they did flag him for it the first time, and I can't believe they didn't flag him for it the second time. Like that's a dirty play in my.
What did they flag him for? Like what was it? Was it unsportsmanlike conduct or?
Yeah, it was because he went below the knees on.
Okay. Did he signal fair catch?
No, he just like he's acting like he's going to return the ball, and then he just drops and like cuts their knees out.
There was a game. Maybe this is what they called it in this game too, but there was a Michigan game a few years ago where Michigan had their 11 guys on the field, and they acted like one of their guys was trotting off because they were like basically lying about him being the 12th guy. But then he stops on the sideline and doesn't step off the sideline. They just throw it over to him, and they get a first down out of the deal. Then the ref caught it, and he throws the flag, and he called it a penalty for, quote, the intent to deceive. It's the first time I've ever heard it called that way, but that's probably a similar call as
that's kind of a bullshit call though, because as long as he is moving behind the line of scrimmage he's not making forward progress in his movement, then it's completely legal. Like if he's either moving away from the line of scrimmage or moving straight down the line of scrimmage, but he's off the line.
I think it was so they're huddled up and he starts trotting off, and they're still in their huddle as he's like standing right on the sideline, and then they break the huddle and line up, which still, probably could be looked at as legal, but intent to deceive is apparently in the rule book.
That's bullshit.
It was Jake Butt.
Yeah.
I just looked it up.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. It says this exact scenario is almost word for word described in the playbook as illegal. Quoting, A1 leaves the field of play during a down. Team A huddles with 10 players. Substitute A12 enters, and A2 simulates leaving the field, but sits near the sideline for a hideout pass. Ruling, penalty, 15 yards from the previous spot. This is a simulated replacement of a player to confuse opponents. Yeah.
I feel like that goes towards the if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, but whatever.
Mike Pereira said those asking about that penalty can't use any tactic simulating substitution to deceive. So I guess it's specifically that you're simulating substitution, because I know that they do have the rules about if one player, if the offense substitutes and the defense is allowed to substitute as well. Because the first thing it made me think of was, I remember a couple of years ago, the Rams, back when the Rams were like the Jeff Fisher Rams, perennial 8-8 Rams, they would always, you had the Seahawks, who were one of the best teams in the league, and the Rams were consistently like 7-9. And every time the Seahawks would play the Rams, it was the definition of getting pulled down into the ditch and just covered with pig shit. It was the most aggravating games. The Rams ran a punt. I was going to say a fake punt, but it was a fake punt. It was like a fake punt return kind of, where they had 3 returners back, and they had 2 guys on one side, and then the other guy was all the way over on the other side in the end zone, and he laid down flat on his stomach in the end zone.
I think I saw this.
And so they punted it to how did it work? I can't remember exactly how they did it, but the 2 guys pretended like they were the ones catching the ball, but it was punted to the other. I think what it was is he laid down, and the Seahawks guys didn't know he was there, so they punted away from the returners and punted it directly to the guy. So the whole team's running down the field watching these guys setting up, getting ready to catch it. And I think they did something where like one of them pretended to catch it and then do a pitch or a handoff to the other guy. And so then I think it was Stedman Bailey might have been the guy who caught it. Speaking of Geno Smith in West Virginia, that just popped in there. Stedman Bailey was one of his guys.
Yeah.
And so he caught it, and he just like ran unobstructed all the way down for a touchdown, because the whole team, he was past the 50-yard line before the team even realized that he had the ball. But so that's kind of a similar thing, but I guess that would be fine, because it's not related to a fake substitution.
And that's typically something that the coach will like tell the ref beforehand, right? Like before the game starts, like, hey, we're doing a fake punt later in the game at some point in the game, or we're gonna do this like punt return thing later in the game. So keep a lookout for it. But I don't know. So we had our first.
Speaking of the, I was say, speaking of the Rams of that era, you remember the time that they ran the fake play where they came to the line of scrimmage? It was like a goal line play. They come to the line of scrimmage and the center like puts his head up and he goes, "This is the wrong ball. This is the wrong ball." And he like hands the ball, and so the whole defense just like stands up, like, what the fuck is he talking about? So he hands the ball between his legs to Kurt Warner, and Kurt Warner's like, "This is the wrong ball," and just starts like walking towards the sideline, and the whole defense is standing there like, what the fuck is going on? And then he just gets over there and darts into the end zone because it was technically they technically snapped him the ball, and the whole defense was like, what's going on? Why is that the wrong ball? Why? What are we doing here?
That's pretty brilliant because, like, what if a defensive player had been like, "No, fuck this, you're pulling some shit," and they just sprinted across the line and cleaned him
blew
out?
him up, yeah.
Then I'm sure they would get penalized for like unnecessary roughness or something because it'd be like, "This isn't an active play." So it's pretty brilliant from the offense's perspective because you kind of can't lose.
A couple weeks ago, Michigan played Iowa. And Iowa's notorious for just their conservative offensive play calling. Like it's 3rd and 7, and they're running all 5-yard routes with their wide receivers. Like this is what Iowa does, and they have been playing this way the entire first half. They're down 13-0. They get the ball back with 13 seconds left in the first half, and they do a fake kneel down. It's like this is the most Iowa thing ever. Like they basically run the ball this entire first half. I've got like 50 yards total, and then here they are with 13 seconds left in the half. Like, you know what? Let's pull one out of the bag here and do a fake kneel.
What happened?
Yeah, they got like 10 yards, and then the half was over.
It's Iowa. They're not actually putting up any yardage on it, even a trick play.
They weren't even trying to score. They're just trying to be cute. And they're like, you know what? We've been boring all day. Let's throw the fans a bone here. Speaking of boring football, we had our first coaching casualty of the year in Matt Rule because Baker Mayfield can't complete a pass. But I don't think that's the only issue with Matt Rule. And it's not super surprising that he's gone. I figured he'd probably be gone by the end of the season. I remember last year, like they were considering firing him last year, and when Harbaugh like had one foot out the door at Michigan and one back in the league, like Rule was apparently like reaching out to Michigan as like, hey, if I get fired and your spot's open, like I've been successful in college before. So yeah. So it's not super surprising he got fired. And then Baker's out for 2 weeks, which means that the Panthers will probably win their next 2 games.
PJ Walker season.
Is that who it is?
Yep. Yeah, rumor has it that that a couple different teams have reached out to them about Christian McCaffrey. Team number 1 is the Bills.
Oh.
Team number 2 is the Broncos.
Can you imagine?
I don't
even know what to like. There's only one ball? Like how he goes to the Bills? That's insane.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, for him, it would actually. I actually suspect if he went to the Bills, it wouldn't be great for fantasy because I think he would go from 25 or 30 touches a game to 10 to 15 touches a game. So for him, it would be brilliant because it'd prolong his career. He'd get a lot less wear and tear and make the Bills just an ungodly super team. And, but for fantasy, my guess is that he would probably maintain the same level of output or maybe take a small step back just because he wouldn't have the sheer volume. So I think like fantasy impact, that might be maybe a worst case scenario for him. But because I mean, like right now with the sputtering Panthers that can't do anything on offense, he's like the 4th or 5th highest scoring fantasy running back must be fantasy running back through the season so far. He's averaging like 20 something points a game quietly without scoring any touchdowns or anything like that, just because he catches 9,000 passes a game.
Right.
So yeah, I think it'd be very interesting if he went to Denver because Denver clearly doesn't trust Melvin Gordon and they just lost Javonte Williams. and Mike Boone is not proven enough. They picked up Latavius Murray, and then he was inactive for the first game. So him going to Denver, I think that he would make Buffalo better, but I think he would make Denver better, relatively speaking. I think he would improve Denver more than he would improve Buffalo.
Right. Melvin Gordon and Latavius Murray are effectively the same runner, just different names.
Right.
There's no distinctive difference between the two of them. At least with McCaffrey, you get the wrinkle of he's a pass catcher. He's a lot more shifty. Like you get a different dimension from your back in that case. And they can still let him get 20 touches a game, and they can let Melvin Gordon spell him to come in and be that power runner when they need somebody that's going to like blow through the line or something like that. And plus, if you do have him go to Denver, you get the nostalgia of Ed's son is in Denver, where he played his whole career. That'd be pretty cool too.
Yeah, I was wondering where Christian would want to go. Like if you put it up to him. So I mean, he's I don't know. I don't remember where he was from originally. I know he went to Stanford. Is he a West Coast kid originally? He grew up in Denver. But
I
then
think so.
So if he wanted,
or
Colorado-ish, probably at least for some years, if not,
Because then, if he was given the choice, like, do you want to go to the team that's been a dumpster fire? Yeah, he was born in Castle Rock, so going to Colorado would be, let's see, he went to Regis Jesuit High School in Aurora, Colorado for his freshman year, and then Valor Christian High School in Highlands Ranch, Colorado for the rest of his high school career. So he's a Colorado kid. So yeah, because at first I was thinking, if you give me the choice between going to this current iteration of the Broncos or going to this current iteration of the Bills, that's kind of like a no-brainer. But if Denver is his home, then maybe he would be interested in going there. And I'm sure that within the NFL, like, media presentation of things and players' perception of things are very different. So I'm sure within the NFL, Russell Wilson there's plenty of people who'd be like, yeah, I want to go play with Russell Wilson. His reputation doesn't shift as fast within the league as it does outside the league.
Well,
and even though Denver seems 0-5, they are still 2-3. It seems worse than what the record actually is. So.
And even with watching the dumpster fire that has been their offense, like, they're still a favorite most weeks. Like they're still.
Yeah, they got another primetime game this week. It was like, are you serious?
The over-under projections are always high. Like last week, it was like I think the line was like 42 or something. Like anybody who's actually watched football this season was like, yeah, there's no way this game is getting to 42 points. But that was the line. So obviously, like, somebody thought that there was a chance that it might get close to that.
What is their line this week? They're not on the main slate. They're Monday night, right? Yeah, Chargers. So over unders 45.5. Chargers are laying 5. So, and I expect that, like, the Chargers' run defense is not good. Nick Chubb just put it up their butt. So I expect that I don't think Denver is going to have as much trouble moving the ball against the Chargers. And particularly because the Chargers aren't going to have as much trouble moving the ball against Denver. So the game is definitely going to have a more play up potential than you could just see the Colts Broncos being it was well within the range of outcomes that the Colts Broncos was going to turn into a complete eyesore.
Oh, the humanity. That's how I felt.
Well, then it turns out too, did you see that Russell Wilson has a torn lat on his throwing shoulder? So he had to go into LA and get some kind of an injection or something like that. He has spent this would be at least his 3rd or 4th season now that he's playing through a significant injury when he shouldn't. He is not a player who should play through injury, because it very clearly changes his efficiency and productivity. There's a long history of that now.
It's like you see it in every sport. There are guys that they play in a certain way that if they have even a slight tweak, it completely changes the way they play. Like this, especially a speed guy that has just a slight hamstring problem. they're fucked for the whole year. Like
Mhm.
you can go ahead and expect that if they pull a hamstring week 1, they're not going to be right the rest of the season. You know, whereas other guys, it doesn't affect them the same way. And Russell Wilson, the way he's always played with being more of a scrambling kind of guy and the way he just sort of slings the ball, like if he has any kind of just a slight injury, it's changing the way that he has to handle his body when he does the things he does. And it fucks with him in a way that it doesn't with like a Tom Brady or a more stationary quarterback. Like Aaron Rodgers can be a more stationary quarterback, but he's good when he's scrambling. So if he's got a knee that's giving him problems, you can really see that it affects the way he's playing. And yeah, Wilson is one of those guys that if there's anything at all wrong with him, he needs to sit. He should not be on the field.
You mentioned the Chargers earlier. Did either of you catch the end of the Chargers-Browns? Okay, so Chargers had the ball up. What did they win by? 2? 1 or 2?
30-28, I think.
Yeah, they had the ball 4th and 2 at their own 40, and there's like around a minute left. Browns didn't have any timeouts left. And I can always forget the Chargers coach's name, but he makes curious decisions. He went for it, didn't get it, and the Browns are basically immediately in field goal range. If I'm playing Madden or NCAA football, I'm going for it too. But like in this situation, you punt the ball. Worst case, Browns start at their own 20. They have no timeouts left with a minute left.
Yeah, that's a lot of field to cover for. I don't know who's the Browns quarterback right now.
Brissett.
Right.
They missed the field goal, but it's like, yeah.
That's a lot of field to cover for any quarterback, much less, the guy who's just a placeholder until Deshaun Watson comes back. Like,
you know what's crazy with him? Check this out. So far through the season, we'll pick a couple of different statistics. We'll start off with QBR. 2022 season leaders in QBR. Tua, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. So 2 is a little surprising, but it makes sense he's up there. Number 4, Geno Smith. Nice. Number 5, Cooper Rush. Number 6, Jacoby Brissett. Let's try EPA. So EPA, which is expected points added. It says with low leverage plays, according to ESPN's win probability model, down-weighted. Number 1, Josh Allen. Number 2, Patrick Mahomes, which little sneak preview there.
Yeah.
Number 3, Geno Smith. Number 4, Jacoby Brissett. He's been like, I didn't realize this because most of my football awareness now is DFS related. So I'm just looking at spreadsheets and stuff all the time. And I'm just seeing the actual points average, and he's not putting up a lot of points, but he's playing really, really well. Which is, I feel like the credit's got to go to Kevin Stefanski. Obviously you got to give some credit to Jacoby Brissett, but he's got a large enough body of work now that clearly there's a different element here. This isn't just simply Jacoby Brissett coming into his own. There's another added element here that's maximizing Jacoby Brissett's skill set, and that's got to be Kevin Stefanski. What this tells me is that when Deshaun Watson comes back, that offense, if Brissett can keep them in playoff contention, then this offense is going to be, especially with the Bengals and the Steelers both just kind of puttering around.
Yeah.
They could, I don't want to say they're going to win the division, but they could go on a run.
Dangerous. I thought Amari Cooper was washed, but he looks good. Obviously, Chubb is a great back. Kareem Hunt spells him.
They have had a little bit of a soft schedule, though. You've got Panthers, Jets, Steelers, Falcons, and Chargers. So
yeah,
they haven't played any of the top tier teams yet. We'll see how that
sets up well for them. Then that when they have their stopgap guy in, they're facing the marshmallows, and then they get their main squeeze in there, and when things get difficult.
So what about your guys, Justin? The other stopgap quarterback, Cooper Rush, was mentioned. I continue to not believe in the Cowboys, but they're 4-1. Their defense is amazing.
the defense is amazing. They have figured out how to utilize Cooper Rush to. I mean, he's been more than just a game manager. Like, he's actually thrown the ball and played well. And then they've also done a good job of balancing between Zeke and Pollard, keeping the run game, the run attack very balanced. And they don't really have like that guy for the receivers. Like, they have a well-rounded receiving core that, like, they just throw the ball to. He throws the ball to whoever's open. You don't have to look for like an Amari Cooper or a Dez Bryant. Like, you don't have to worry about the big personality that has to have the ball. You just throw the ball to whoever's open and move the ball downfield.
Until CD starts developing that personality.
Well, I mean, and that's the nice thing is that CD Lamb has been a big time playmaker, but he doesn't have that. Yeah, he doesn't have that diva.
He's not a wide receiver diva yet.
Yeah, hopefully he's like, early years Antonio Brown and doesn't have the later years Antonio Brown thing play out. Yeah, I'm not a Cowboys fan by any means, but I'm a big Dak fan, and so I follow the Cowboys, and seeing them have success with him out is a nice thing, and I hope that means that when Dak comes back, the offense is kind of balanced and he can step back in and just kind of pick up and run the thing at the next level.
It's crazy. Last year they were the highest scoring team in the league throughout the year, right? Like, they finished as the highest scoring team, and this year it looks their defense just. I don't know if they have I don't know what their numbers are in your site, Matt, but their defense has got to be top 5.
Dallas?
Yeah.
They are defensive DVOA. They are 6th by 0.1%, right behind Philly. Skyler in the chat said that Philly has a cupcake schedule ahead. And just to put a fine point on that, Philly's future schedule by DVOA is 32nd. So Philly literally faces the easiest schedule by DVOA the rest of the year. Another team up here, 30th. So here going 32nd down to 25th. These are the teams that face the easiest schedules, top 7 easiest schedules. Philly, Atlanta, shout out Magoo, Tampa Bay, Minnesota, San Francisco, the Chargers, and the Seahawks. So San Francisco's already, they have the number 1 defense by DVOA, 16th offense. So, and their past schedule was 32nd. So they played the easiest schedule so far, and they have the 5th easiest schedule ahead. So San Francisco basically just had a really cupcake schedule this season. Now, obviously, some of these things can change because some teams play really poorly at first, and so statistically it bears out that they're a bad team, but then they get better. And so, it's not necessarily exactly going to be that way, but that's how it looks right now. So you could probably bet pretty good money that the 49ers, the Bucks, and the Eagles, who are already, what are their records? They're also, Eagles are 5-0, obviously. Atlanta's 3-2, and
Tampa's
49ers
3-2.
are 3-2. Yeah. Or I say Atlanta, Tampa's 3-2, and 49ers are 3-2. Minnesota is 4-1.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they don't have that division locked up yet, but they're well on their way.
Yeah, I think they will. I could see Philly and Minnesota both having like 14-3, 13-4 records, but then flaming out in the playoffs. But I'm almost banking on Niners in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
Just their style of play is just made for the playoffs, it seems.
Are the Giants for real?
No, I'm still not there.
I would say this is cheating, I know, but I would say yes and no. I think that talent-wise, no, they're definitely not. I think that it's becoming very clear that Brian Dable is a very good coach, and given his track record of how Buffalo performed, how he maximized their talent, and when he was in Buffalo, and now watching him take over just a complete laughing stock of a team, and they've had an easy schedule too. Like, what's their past schedule is 24th, so they've had a pretty easy schedule. Future schedule is 12th, so but like you can't take their 4 wins away from them. So they've got 12 more games this season. So even if they split those games, you're still looking at a 10-win team. So I don't think that talent-wise, I don't think they're up there, but they've been winning with probably the worst wide receiver core in recent memory. And, suddenly Danny Dimes is Danny Wheels. He's running everywhere, which really kind of takes the stress off of him needing to be a really productive passer. If you can have him pick up chunk yards, and then you've got a superhuman freak like Saquon Barkley.
It is good to see Saquon back to his rookie form.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that talent-wise, they're not going to make a deep push for the playoffs, or like into the playoffs. But I think they're very much going to be in contention for it. And a lot of other teams in the NFC just aren't really stepping up and grabbing life by the balls. So could you wind up getting 3 playoff teams from the NFC East? That would be pretty funny.
For the one team that will not be making the playoffs in the NFC East, who loses their job first, Ron Rivera or Carson Wentz?
I listened to something really interesting recently. It was I think it might have been one of the football guys on the couch with Sigmund Bloom. You're talking about the narrative coming out of Indianapolis this last year was basically like they were kicking Carson Wentz out the door and they couldn't get him out fast enough. Like, don't let the door hit you or the good Lord split you. And that essentially he was their like sacrificial lamb for all of their troubles. All their struggles were all on Carson Wentz. It was his problem. He was the one who fucked everything up. And now that Matt Ryan's here, Matt Ryan's going to save the day. And that definitely has not been the case.
No.
So then retroactively, do you say, was Carson Wentz actually the one that was helping them keep it together? Was he actually the one who was responsible for the Colts not being a complete dumpster fire last year? I don't know. It's tough to say because Carson Wentz is probably, I don't know. Is there a more hot and cold quarterback in the NFL right now? He can show up and just completely ball out and throw for 400 yards and look like a former MVP candidate. And then he can just completely shit his pants and get sacked 9 times in a game, which most of which are his fault. And he's the reason you lose. I don't know. Apparently Ron Rivera's, when I first heard his comments where they said like, what's the difference between you and the other teams in the division? And he said quarterback. I was like, holy shit.
Look, I know Daniel Jones is playing well, but man, that's rough.
And like to be a coach and to say something that like blunt and brutal, to throw your guy under the bus that hard. I guess he came out and he walked it back and he like said he wasn't trying to say it's the quarterback's fault. It's that they're trying to integrate a quarterback. So their quarterback wasn't a set position and they're having to integrate him. And so things are kind of touch and go. I don't know how you don't understand. Like Ron Rivera is not a stupid guy. I don't know how you don't understand it saying that way. Just saying quarterback with a particular guy who is your quarterback. Like that's exactly how it's going to be.
Right.
Be taken.
Rivera has been around the league for some years, and a lot of those years were with Cam Newton. Like, that you don't say that about your quarterback. Like, right? Like,
I don't think that chemo addled his brain that bad.
Weren't they beefing at the end too? Were Cam and Ron beefing at the end? I can't remember.
I think Cam was kind of beefing with everyone at the end.
Yeah, right. I would say I don't put a whole lot of weight in that because I'm pretty sure Cam Newton was just beefing with like everybody on the planet at that point.
This is why when he went to the Patriots, you're like, what?
The guy, he's a little.
Yeah, he's been in the view too many times. For Wentz, his numbers, I guess his like basic quarterback stats, touchdown interception ratio last year with the Colts, he was like 27-7, which is good. But then like the advanced QB metrics were not favorable towards Wentz at all.
Mm-hmm. So he was. Let me see if I look at their. If I go to 2021, come on.
Wentz was, even when he was in his like MVP mode, he was one of those guys that he had really good stats, and he did a lot of the things that you want a good quarterback to do, but he also missed a lot of the things that you expect from like a Super Bowl caliber, like great quarterback. So like that was always something that is, and then especially once he got hurt, then it really started to separate. Like then the things that you want to see from a good quarterback were less consistent, and the things that you see from a great quarterback were almost completely non-existent. Like, yeah, he can still put up good numbers, and he can still have a good touchdown to interception ratio and stuff like that. But there are certain things that a quarterback has to deliver on to step up to that next level of really pushing your team over the top, that he never has had that. Like, I don't know what it, like, if it's a mental thing or what, but he has never in his career had that. Even when he was an MVP candidate, he didn't have that.
You're saying it's a redhead thing, aren't you?
Probably.
That was gonna be my guess.
It's the same reason Andy Dalton never took that step.
Yeah, the red rifle. He's sharing time with Taysom Hill.
You had to bring that up, didn't you? Fucking
what happened?
4 point for you, Matt?
Because he ran over the Seahawks. Yes.
Yeah. He also ran all over my DFS hopes and dreams. Because like when you have a 0.1% guy put up one of the highest scores on the slate, it nukes just about everything that I spent all the time putting together these lineups, trying to run all the percentages and everything. And then you have this one motherfucker who two games out of the season, he does this. And then he goes back to splinter collecting the rest of the year. It just, oh my God.
It is funny about Taysom Hill because everybody's going to run out and pick him up now, and he's not going to do it again. He won't do it again for the rest of the year.
My tight ends suck in one of my leagues, and I was like, you know what? I'm taking a flyer in Taysom Hill. And then just like before we logged on here, I got a notification that said T Hill goes from healthy to questionable. I was like, I don't have Tyreek Hill. I was, Taysom Hill. The other really fast guy.
Questionable now. But here's the thing: this year, tight end is if you don't have Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, Dallas Goedert, or maybe like Zach Ertz.
Yeah.
Then
Joku's coming.
Or Njoku, another one. Like basically those five guys. If you don't have one of those five guys, and you're going to get a lot of people who have both have at least two of them. If you don't have them, then the odds of you airballing at tight end on any given week with anybody is pretty significant. And there's not a single tight end, Travis Kelce accepted, who can conceivably put up 4 touchdowns and a significantly high amount of total yardage in a given week. So, I mean, you might as well just take Taysom Hill and just run him out there every week. And if you take a 0, you take a 0 because you might also get a 40.
I mean, if you're needing a good, like, middle of the road guy that's going to give you 9, 10, 12 points, Hayden Hurst has been a pretty good pickup.
Yeah.
He and Burrow have started to kind of find some chemistry, and plus with that offensive line, like having a tight end that you can dump the ball off to pretty quickly is of infinite value. And that's something that Burrow has done the past couple of weeks, is he's been able to find Hayden Hurst and dump the ball off whenever that line is breaking down early on in a play. Yeah, so like Hayden Hurst is a good tight end pickup to give you some pretty consistent points. Like, you're not going to win a game, but you're also not going to get a 0 like you might get out of some of the other tight ends around the league.
Did you see the video of Hayden Hurst straight up beating Marcus Peters off the line? I'm trying to find it. I was scrolling past and I saw it. But Marcus Peters is like top cornerback for Ravens. And and Hayden Hurst. I guess he lined up across from Hayden Hurst, and Hayden Hurst straight up beat him off the line.
Dang.
He's a good tight end. I mean, he where did he play before? He was
Baltimore.
Yeah.
And then the Falcons. He went from Baltimore to the Falcons, and then I've had him in a dynasty league since he was a rookie. So
that game, I was hoping for a really good game, and I was severely disappointed with the Bengals and Ravens game. This is why I disrespect Lamar so much. It's every game I watch with Lamar is he plays like that. Like, it just wasn't. I mean, Burrow wasn't great either, but I just didn't see much out of Lamar either.
Let's see, Baltimore this year. Baltimore's number 2 in pass DVOA in the league this year. Offensive pass DVOA. Number 13 in rush DVOA. That just seems so weird because, I mean, is this obviously the first couple of weeks they were absolutely nuclear, but then since then it seems like they've hardly done anything. I don't know.
Yeah.
DVOA is a pretty stable statistic.
They were talking about Lamar as runaway MVP candidate after like the first 3 weeks of the season.
And a big thing that changed is J.K. Dobbins came back. So now he's suddenly not getting 100, 120 yards rushing each game. But the passing game seems to have slowed down as well. Rashad Bateman's also been out. So, yeah, it's just weird. You know who's number 1 in pass DVOA? Offensive pass DVOA?
Buffalo?
Nope.
No.
Cowboys?
No.
I don't need Seahawks. No.
Seattle Seahawks.
Is it really Seahawks?
Yeah. The fighting Geno Smiths are the number 1 passing offense in the NFL.
There were a couple throws that Geno made the other day where I was like, oh my gosh.
I did not know.
Dropping dimes.
I was saying at the beginning of the season that I think that he's going to surprise some people. I had no idea that it was going to be anything like this. I did not know that he had some of that stuff in his bag. The one throw that he made rolling to his left, throwing across his body, hitting Noah Fant in stride, like 25, 30 yards downfield.
There was one to Baldwin too. I was like, this is the
Lockett?
college guy. Yeah, Lockett.
Yeah, that was. Yeah,
at the beginning of the season, I
dropping
said the
dimes.
one thing that Geno Smith is good for is throwing it to his number 1 receiver, and DK Metcalf has definitely put up some good numbers for me this year. So I've been pleased with that. But he's been good for a lot more than that too. So
Tyler Lockett has been outscoring DK.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if you guys play. Did you guys play DFS at all?
It's been a while.
DraftKings. Okay, yeah, and he was for whatever reason. Tyler Lockett just went apeshit last week. As a $5,600 receiver. So he's priced like a low middle of the road wide receiver. And then this week they're going up against the Cardinals, who he's historically played very, very well against, and is not going to, it's going to be a pace up game, and it's likely going to be a very little defense game. And Tyler Lockett again is $5,600. So he's going to be probably the most played player in all of DFS this week.
I said, is Doug Baldwin still even on the Seahawks roster?
He retired.
Pretty sure.
He probably retired like 3 years ago.
I think it's about 3 or 4 years ago. Yeah.
He probably made it's probably the Super Bowl against the Patriots. Just still like it's not. He didn't make that one catch, but I think he had a good game.
What I was going to ask you guys this Redskins. I wanted to say Redskins. I was going to say Commanders. And no, it's Redskins.
Skins.
Redskins, Chicago. This game, now on the surface, this game looks like a dumpster fire. It looks like yet another primetime game that's going to be a complete slog. There's nothing redeeming about it. On the other hand, Justin Fields kind of came to life. And he wound up with a half decent day, and that was with I don't remember how long it was, but a significant long touchdown run chalked off. So, and then also on the flip side, you've got kind of an interesting dynamic here in Washington with Brian Robinson being back. Which, by the way, did you see when he walked out on the field? They did the intro. Did you see what song he walked out to?
Mm-mm.
"Many Men" by 50 Cent. It was a pretty cool moment. The dude that got shot walking out to "Many Men" was pretty cool. But he's so part of the problem for the Redskins, I think, has been that, I mean, number one, obviously the Carson Wentz stuff we talked about, but Antonio Gibson just is not cutting it. He's just not been playing well. He doesn't look spry. He looks indecisive. He just doesn't seem physically up to the task. Now they're talking about putting him on special teams. So you're going to have the Brian Robinson, JD McKissick show now. And I wonder if, especially now that the De'Ami Brown seal has been broken, I wonder if this game actually has a little bit of maybe some sneaky shootout potential.
My number one fantasy advice at the beginning of the season for anybody who asked me was do not touch the Redskins backfield. Like, if it says Washington RB, avoid them like the fucking plague. Do not touch them. Like,
where does Brian Robinson come from?
He was
it sounds familiar, but
hold on. I would normally have had this offhand, but I don't pay attention to college enough anymore. Alabama. Yeah.
Oh,
Alabama.
yeah.
Yep.
I get him mixed up with the Georgia guy that went to the Giants. I can't remember now. Dalvin Cook's brother was at Georgia.
Yeah,
Brian Brown.
Yeah. But yeah, so far this season, Washington is a 28th pass DVOA, 31st rush DVOA. I think that rushing offense is going to get significantly better because the talent gap between Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson is significant. And Brian Robinson was supposed to be the starter to begin with. Like, he won the starting job fair and square in camp. Everyone was talking about him it was like him and Dameon Pierce were supposed to be the two, like, these are the rookie running backs that are really going to take the league by storm, starting off right away. Because everyone knew Kenneth Walker was going to be in a committee, and the Seahawks offense wasn't supposed to be very good. So then he goes and gets himself shot, and then powers through it. It's 4 or 5, 6 weeks later, and he came back and he looked good. They gave him 10 carries. He had, or 10 touches. He had 9 carries and looked great. So I would imagine coming into this game, he's likely going to be, I don't know if he's going to be all systems go, but he's probably going to be pretty close. I think that he'll make that entire offense better. I think he's a good enough player. He's a field tilting type player. And now that Chicago is starting to look like they're showing some signs of life, I don't know. It seems like this game actually has some potential of being a little bit better than initially thought. I was listening to, I think it was the same. I think it was one of the Sigmund Bloom conversations today, and he said, if somebody had told you before the season that Chicago is going to come out and for the first month of the year they're going to look rough, it's going to look really herky-jerky, it's going to be really conservative game plan, and it's just not going to look good. And then they're going to get things kind of settled in. They're going to find a rhythm, and a month into the season, then things are going to start moving, and Justin Fields is going to start performing. That wouldn't have seemed preposterous. That's at the point we're at now. So I'm kind of wondering if everyone is really kind of hyping up and dreading how awful this game is going to be tomorrow. But I kind of am looking forward to it. I think it actually might be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it'll probably be much more entertaining than last week's game, but that's obviously not a high bar. It is interesting.
Absolutely can't be worse than last week.
It is interesting to watch what Justin Fields becomes, because still not like sure. You don't get a lot of passing yards from him, but it's not like they have many weapons for him to throw to either.
Although according to the line, or according to ESPN, the line is even and the over-under is 38 on this game. So
they're expecting a low-scoring affair.
I think I might put some money on the over. Yeah. I think this game could get a little fun, because neither team's offense is that, or neither team's defense is that great. I think Chicago's run defense is really good, so you might have the strength against strength here, where maybe the two best units here are going to be the Washington running game against the Chicago run defense, which is always kind of interesting when those things line up that way. I see this as maybe having a little bit of sneaky over potential, something like a 24-19 sort of a game.
See, both teams are consistently giving up over 20 points per game, so Yeah, there is not going to be a whole lot of defense played. It doesn't look like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, when we did our preseason picks, like Chicago is one of the easiest teams. Pick them last in the North. Like Detroit's up and coming, and Minnesota and Green Bay are who they are. But it looks like right now the Lions are going to finish where they always finish, which is last in the North, and Chicago will retake that third spot. I don't think they're good enough to overtake Green Bay for
How about
second,
that?
because I'm pretty sure
How about that with the
Minnesota's going to win
Lions?
the division.
We were on my
bragging
show
about
last
their
night.
offense.
On my show last night, we were talking about the Lions, like, you know, when they had Matt Stafford and he was putting up like world-ending numbers with throwing for over 4,000 yards and all these touchdowns, and he and Calvin Johnson were like this massive like tag team duo, and they were always finishing at the bottom of the NFC North because they couldn't stop anybody on defense. Like, and it's the story of the Lions. They can put up big numbers, but they can't stop anybody ever.
I mean, literally, like Barry Sanders, some say the greatest running back of all time, retires after 9 seasons. Calvin Johnson could have been like, or he was still like a top 5 receiver of all time. He retires after 9 seasons. Like the Lions just burn these guys out, unfortunately.
Yeah, there's no way that happens if with either of those guys, if the teams they're playing on are consistently in championship.
If they're experiencing success, like they're going to want to stick around. But.
Right. So they may not admit it publicly. They may say, "Oh no, you know, it was other reasons. You know, it was just fell out of love with the game, or you know, just wanted to protect my body or whatever." But you know, deep down inside, that much losing, especially if you are a transcendent talent, you are consistently the most talented person in every room that you walk into, and you're consistently tagged as a loser. That's got to be psychologically, you just can't take it after a while.
I'm towards the end of Calvin's career. I was like, I kind of hope this guy gets traded somewhere where he can actually be on a playoff contending team. Because Calvin, he never complained when he was in Detroit, and he was amazing to watch. But
like, I was really happy that even being a diehard Packers fan my whole life, to see Matt Stafford get traded to go play for a good Rams team and win a Super Bowl, like. It's good for him. Like,
this is like the Verlander thing we talked about earlier.
Yeah, like he's been stuck on this just like, you know, basement dwelling Lions team and being a really good quarterback nonetheless, and stuck on this. Like, they're not losing because of him, right? Like you feel good for the guy that he finally got out and got a chance, and actually, and then not only did he get a chance, but like he delivered on it. Like he went and won the game. You know, they had a very good team. It wasn't all like the Matt Stafford show, but he didn't he didn't do anything lionish to fuck it up. Like it was clearly a difference of team made all the difference for him.
It's a good thing that they did have last year though, because things look rough for the Rams this year. I know we talked about this last show, but I don't think they're making the playoffs this year.
That was my prediction beginning of the season. I don't think the Rams are going to make it back. There's just too many issues going on there. It seems like a lot of flashbacks for Matt Stafford now. I mean, he's legitimately running for his life. Like he's getting obliterated. And what was their? Let me look at their schedule so far. I don't remember what it was. I think that they have one of the more difficult upcoming schedules. So their past schedule. Their past schedule is number 1, most difficult. Their future schedule is number 9. So things aren't going to get much easier.
No.
That's a tough season.
Yeah, they're in. And then they've got the 49ers and the Seahawks, who both have among the easiest future schedules. Arizona has the number 2 most difficult future schedule. So. Yeah, this is.
Well, like for the Rams, I was thinking at the beginning of the season that some of the reloading they did on defense was going to work out, and it has not. Like that's clearly not worked in their favor. Like it seemed like on paper that it was going to be good fits, and that what they did to kind of shore up what they lost in the offseason on the defensive side of the ball was going to work. Like they, instead of having like the big name players, they had more of a by committee, but it looked like good groups of guys who were going to be filling those roles, and it hasn't worked out. Which, I mean, I guess that's one of those things that you should expect whenever you're going with a rotation of players to fill in the gaps. Like if one of those is having an off night, then that can fuck your whole team. But like, you don't expect to see one of those guys have an off night every single week, and that kind of seems to be where they are. Like their defense just isn't firing on all cylinders like it should be.
There's an effect where when the defense is playing poorly, it can sometimes make the offense better because the offense has extra pressure and they have to step it up. They have to, play faster. They have to be more productive. So sometimes when a defense is bad, it'll make an offense better. On the flip side, if your offense is bad, it can make your defense worse, because if your offense is consistently either not holding onto the ball long enough, so you're not getting, you're just literally just playing so much that you wear out, or getting you consistently bad field position. And then there's like the psychological effect of like, God, like, if we give up more than 10 points, we're going to lose this game. That'll psychologically wear a team down. So when a team's offense is sputtering like theirs is right now, it kind of everything else just kind of spirals out of control from there. That's why for me, if you're building a team, it has to start with the quarterback and the offensive line. Those are the two most important dynamics, because you very rarely see teams with a good offensive line and a good quarterback that don't perform well. Typically, a team that has a good offensive line and a good quarterback, everything cascades down from there, because then the defense is in better positions. The defense spends less time on the field. The defense gets put in better field position. The defense has the psychological boost of knowing that they have to pick up their offense, that their offense is pulling their weight, so they need to pull their own weight. And you get jazzed when your team scores, like it amps you up. So
that's like those Peyton Manning Colts teams. Like they were built for that. And their defense was great because of the way that the offense performed. As soon as Peyton Manning went out, like literally the year that Peyton Manning was out, there was no difference on that defense from the year before. It was all the exact same guys, but that defense looked like absolute dog shit. Because
you're talking about the Curtis Painter years?
Painter
year.
Yeah, because they were having to play from behind all the time. And that was like something that everybody was talking about that whole year. Is like, what happened to this defense? Like last year, this defense was a great defense, and now it's the same defense, same guys, everything, and now they just suck and they're getting railroaded every single game. It's like, well, they went from playing behind it or from playing ahead in every game and having momentum behind them to now they're playing from behind, and all of the weight is on their shoulders to get stops. It's not like they don't have that fallback of, okay, well, if we fuck up on this series, Peyton's got our back and he's just going to put up 7 more points the next time he comes out on the field. Like, you have to get stops, and the more pressure you've got piled on you, then the more those breakdowns start to happen, and the more it breaks down, the more that weighs on you, that it starts like that defense was a shell of itself because they were always playing from behind.
Like, if you think about it, like if you know that your team their offense is going to put up points, if they are putting up points, you're more likely to, there's like a given decision point, you're more likely to take a gamble. And so you're more likely to put yourself in a position to make a fantastic athletic play. You're more likely to be acting a lot more instinctually and not overthinking every single thing that you're doing. Because when you start thinking, I mean, we're talking like a matter of inches. Like if it takes you an extra split second to think through something you're doing rather than just instinctually responding, that could be a difference in like 6 inches, which could be the difference in you reaching and tipping a ball and you not getting to it. Like these sorts of things start really compounding throughout the course of a game. This is why I've spent a lot of time deeply in the analytics crowds. And I love analytics. I'm sitting here with advanced stats in front of me looking through stuff. But the one thing that's always bothered me is when people poo-poo the idea of momentum, because like, oh, you can't quantify it. Well, yeah, just like there's plenty of things that are real that you can't quantify. Momentum is something like a combination of like confidence and motivation. And there's a genuine psychological impact that you can feel. You can feel when a team has momentum. Look at the Raiders and Chiefs this last week. The Raiders legitimately had the momentum, and then The Chiefs shifted that. The Chiefs willed themselves back into that game. They took the momentum by the balls and took it over. Now, that doesn't mean that on the flip side, you can't have all the momentum and then have one fluky thing go against you. And I mean, it's a psychological thing. So instantly it can, the ball bounces the wrong direction. The other team grabs it. Now, all of a sudden that team, this sounds cheesy, but that team believes more. Suddenly that team has like a window that's open to them, and they have a burst of energy that feels like, okay, we can get through this window and turn things in our favor. And on the corollary to that is that the team that suffered the unlucky bounce is now suddenly like, oh shit, now now they're going to start thinking, overthinking things more, and starting to like hesitate and second guess. So those types of psychological things you can't quantify, but they're very real.
I was going to say, it may not be something that you can quantify, but as soon as it happens, like everybody watching can immediately,
what's happening.
Like, holy shit, there it is. Like that's
you can sense
the
it.
entire thing is turning now. I mean, you saw that happened in the Denver game and with the Colts. Like, even though it wasn't ever out of reach, or like it wasn't like Denver was dominating the game, but Denver had momentum for a while, and then it was one of the Russell Wilson picks. It was like, okay, like this was they should have scored. Like this should have been an easy score, and he just straight up missed the throw, and it was a pick, and it was like, well, the Colts are going to win this. Like
I think it was the one where he just kind of inexplicably just airmailed something.
He looked to the left, and then he just threw.
He just chucked to the middle, and I was like, I don't know if he's trying to throw it away. I don't know if that was one where maybe now knowing that his lat was torn, maybe he was trying to do something with it and his lat tightened up on him and he just airmailed it or something. But that seemed to be the point where everything just kind of shifted after that. Because I think it was probably perceived as if I was the opposing player, I would have perceived that as a white flag. Like, fuck it. Whatever, I give up.
Yeah. There's a debate between the analytics people and I guess the feelings ball people about when you're down. I don't know if I've seen this play out this year yet, but when you're down by 15, so obviously you're down by 16, you have to go for 2 both times, no matter what, if you score a touchdown. You're down by 15. I always think you have to go for 2 on the second touchdown because you score, you kick the extra point, you're down by 8. Your defense knows it still just needs 1 stop. So they're going to play with more momentum, like we're saying, with more adrenaline, because if they get a stop, there's still potential for tying the game. But a lot of analytics people say that you go for 2 on the first touchdown, which makes no sense to me because if you don't get it, you're down by 9. Defense isn't gonna like feel like they have something backing them up. If you're,
I think they're probably saying that either way, you wind up in a position where it's a 2-score game. And you're giving yourself an extra possession either way, but you want to give yourself that extra possession when you have more time to get that extra possession. Like you don't want to find out when there's 10 seconds left that you need an extra possession. But I think that's an area where the analytics people they take it too far because
there's just a math brain there.
Yeah, these are people. These are human beings. These are human beings that have like psychological motivations, and knowing that it's a 1-score game makes a big difference. It also makes a big difference on the flip side, the decision making of the other team.
Yeah.
Because if the other team is protecting a one-score lead, then they're likely to make decisions reflecting that fact. They're maybe going to be more conservative. They're not going to take the same number of gambles. You kind of want to induce them into gambling, because if you can induce them into gambling, by definition, they're taking a lower probability angle. And if they're taking a lower probability angle, by definition, they're giving you a greater probability chance of converting that in your favor. So, like the sequencing matters, and the statistics. You could take this in all kinds of different directions with life in general. But you can imagine hypotheticals as you're trying to decide what to do, but ultimately there isn't a hypothetical reality that you can play this stuff out in and then go back and try it over again. There's only going to be one reality where you have to make the decision in that reality. And it's going to have consequences forward and backward. So I think you're exactly right. In a situation like that you have to go for 2 the second time. Because you're still in that point where, like, either way, if you don't get it, you're not going to win. That just kind of is how it is. Because if you don't get it the first time, and then now it's a 9-point game, and you're having to negotiate like
you're banking on an
kick and all of that, you're essentially out of it anyways.
and on the flip side of that though, like I like to side with the analytics people when a team is up by 1 and they score for a touchdown. I like going for the kill shot to go up by 9 instead of 8.
Yes, same here. Right, because again, even if you're still up by 8, that's still more difficult than being up by 7. So your fallback position is still, you're in the same spot where you're making it much more difficult for the team to even tie you, and then you can put it just completely out of reach altogether. I definitely like that.
Yeah. Somehow this conversation started with the Rams, and I had a thought about a former Rams player, Odell Beckham Jr., OBJ. I can't say his name. And Justin's real team. Would you like to see OBJ as a Packer?
No.
No.
No. I have faith in what the Packers are doing with the with Lazard and the rookie receivers. I think they'll come into their own. Randall Cobb is still a very serviceable receiver. I think OBJ has. I think that's too much bullshit that comes along with him to put on the same field with Aaron Rodgers. Because if he doesn't run his routes right, like that, you're going to have an actual fist fight on the sidelines. Because Rodgers is going to get in his grill and yell at him if he doesn't run his routes right, and he's not going to run his routes right. Like he's going to break them off and he's going to do whatever the fuck he wants. And
every route's a go route.
Yell at him. He's going to be a hothead, and you're going to actually see Aaron Rodgers and OBJ beating the living shit out of each other on the sideline. And for the entertainment value of it,
that's why
I was going to say you're talking me into this.
That would be awesome. Exactly, but at the same time, like as a fan of the team, I don't want to see that. Like let's just not have that, please. And plus, the Packers don't go get free agents like that. That's just not in their nature.
Yeah, this is just something I heard to help out the wide receiver core there.
It'll never happen.
I can't. Like on that subject though, like where do you see him going?
Wasn't Buffalo being thrown around too?
Yeah, maybe.
But I don't know. Again, like I think they're
Kansas
set at
City?
receiver. Diggs and Get Davis are good. Kansas City. Wow. That would be interesting.
Because I mean, Juju just seems cooked. MVS has been fine. He's looked great. Did you know that they haven't? I think I heard the stat right. Kansas City's averaging like 30 points a game, and they have yet to score a wide receiver touchdown.
Really?
I don't even know how that's possible.
I really thought Juju would just slot into the Tyreek Hill role, and he hasn't.
I don't know if he's washed or what, but I feel like maybe we could take some bets on this. I feel like the main candidates for this is, of course, leaving out the possibility of some dramatic wide receiver injury that's completely unforeseeable. As of right now, I feel like the greatest candidates for OBJ would be, in no particular order, Kansas City, Buffalo, or who else was I thinking of?
I've got a team.
I think
Dallas.
Yeah.
Jerry Jones is the guy to do it.
Yeah.
We traded for Amari Cooper middle of the season a couple of years ago, right?
That's a good shout. I think that's probably, or I could see Cleveland too.
And get him in when about the time Dak's coming back, because Dak will feed the ego. Like if you've got a top flight, I don't know that OBJ is still top flight, but if
he looked great last year,
if you have a top flight receiver like that, Dak will get him the ball where he can be the most productive with it. I mean, you saw it as soon as Amari Cooper showed up in Dallas, he started racking off big games, and yeah, that could be. And Jerry Jones is the guy to pull the trigger on something like that for sure.
The Colts could use him, but I don't see the Colts making a move like that.
I don't see him wanting to go there.
The other team, or Jacksonville.
The other kind of dark horse team I was thinking of was Baltimore.
Okay, yeah. That would be interesting.
I just don't know if they would throw enough for it to be appealing to him, and I don't know if they would want to integrate kind of a ball hog type there. But I mean, and maybe we're holding his past reputation against him a little too much, because he definitely integrated with the Rams just fine last year, and
He did.
he was well on the way to being the Super Bowl MVP when he got hurt. And so, I mean, maybe he's at the stage of his life. Maybe he's kind of sobered up a little bit and kind of being on the sidelines like he has. Maybe now he's like, I just want to show up and play ball, and I want to, maybe he kind of sees the writing on the wall, another major knee injury, and he may never play again. So he could be in the, like, give me a championship kind of mentality right now.
Interesting to see where he goes.
Maybe he winds up on the Seahawks.
Forget comeback player of the year. Gino's going for MVP.
So I think the Titans could be another possible like dark horse contender for Odell Beckham, just because they have other than Robert Woods, they don't really have any like solid receivers, and
that division is winnable right now.
That division is very weak. That Tannehill is very serviceable. He can throw the ball, and that would give them a weapon to take pressure off of Derrick Henry.
What happened with speaking of that division? What happened with Jacksonville and Houston? Anybody watch that game?
I didn't watch it. From my past of being a part-time Jaguars fan, that division in particular is one of the fuckiest in all the league. Those teams just beat the shit out of each other, and they hate each other. They how the Titans, they're like hashtag is tighten up. So of course you could probably predict exactly what that gets turned into. Tighten up your butthole.
They'll probably end up winning the division because they play the best smash mouth style.
Yeah, they looking at future schedule. So past schedule for them right now. Let's look at this division. Indy has had the 11th hardest schedule. Jacksonville, Tennessee, and Houston are 26th, 27th, and 29th. So Jacksonville's had the easiest schedule so far. They have the easiest schedule going forward. Tennessee has the 5th hardest schedule going forward. And Indy has the 18th hardest schedule going forward. So Tennessee's going to have it rough. Definitely having Treylon Burks out injured is rough, because if you're going to have a low volume passing offense, it needs to be very efficient. And I mean, I don't think that you're going to run an efficient passing offense through whatever a Kyle Phillips and Nick Westbrook-Akine.
I'm sorry, who?
Nick Westbrook-Akine. Like those, I think those are their top 2 receivers right now, or I guess Robert Woods is there, the shell of Robert Woods. But yeah, so someone like OBJ would definitely make them better. I don't know if I'd be surprised if he'd want to go there.
Yeah, he might. He has a Baker Mayfield PTSD, and he probably sees Tannehill and thinks of Baker.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about the Redskins and Bears matchup. You want to run through some other games this week?
Did we pick that one?
Do what?
Did we pick that one?
I guess we didn't pick it, did we? Let's pick it. Redskins, Bears. Justin.
I'm going to go with Bears.
I'm going with the Bears as well. I think that Fields continues his upward trajectory.
Yeah, I'm going to say Bears win because of a defensive score. I think it's
Smith interception return.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, because the Bears defense is definitely the best unit out there, and Carson Smith's a turnover machine. So I think it's going to be a close game, but I think it's going to hit the over, and I think it's going to be decided by a defensive score.
And then after the game, Ron Rivera's going to be like, okay, I actually did mean win sucks.
Did you know that I think that there's a clause in his contract that if he plays more than 70% of snaps, then the whatever it's turns a fourth round pick into a third, or a third into a second. So there's a very good chance that we're going to see some Taylor Heineke or some what was his name, Sam Howell. We're going to see some of them
North Carolina, yeah,
sometime soon.
be fun to watch. We talked about okay, this is leading into the Jets Packers, but when you're talking about the Browns earlier and kind of the weapons that they have on offense, and when we were talking about the Giants, I think I'm higher on the New York Jets than I am on the New York Giants because
Ditto.
I actually like Zach Wilson. I like Breece Hall and Michael Carter as the duo in the backfield. And they got some good receivers.
Yeah. And Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
Elijah Moore and what's his name? From the Titans. Corey Davis.
Yeah.
And then they've got the Gronklin himself, the tight end. They've got a real team. And they just got Dwayne Brown back off of IR. Dwayne Brown has been a stud at left tackle for years. There was very little fall off with him in Seattle the last couple of years. He was injured a couple times. He had like a torn bicep and some other issues, but when he was on the field, he was just fine. So offensive line is getting better. Zach Wilson seems to be starting to turn a corner, and and then they're a Robert Saleh team, so they're always going to be they're going to play with some attitude.
Yeah.
And with Tua being iffy for probably the rest of the year, that puts the Dolphins in an also iffy position. So they can see there's some upward mobility for the Jets that, like, if they not only get their shit together, but like they really pull it together and keep it together, there's a chance that they can contend for a playoff spot, finishing second in that division.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's why I am trending towards picking the Jets over the Packers this week, Justin. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't know if I can go quite that far yet. I like the Jets. I don't know if I can do upset at Lambeau.
Where? Oh, is it? Okay, it's at Lambeau.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Aaron is going to be out for blood after
after the London fiasco.
Yeah, they should have had that, and then the way they kind of pissed that one away. I think I don't think they're gonna lose 2 in a row. They're gonna bounce back, and they're probably gonna try to embarrass the Jets in this game.
They're laying 7. I might pick the Jets to cover that.
Yeah. I think it could be a field goal game. I will go with the Packers, even though I want to pick the Jets, but the Jets are going to cover.
I like that.
What about the big game?
Bills and Chiefs. Oh, you mean Ravens Giants? No, I'm just kidding. Bills and Chiefs.
It'd be funny if Ravens Giants outscored Bills and Chiefs. I have this sneaking suspicion. Everyone's talking about like hammering the over, and this is going to be the highest scoring game of the year, and it's just going to be a redux of the playoff game. I kind of got a sneaking suspicion that this one's going to be more smash mouth, that it's going to be more of a chess match kind of, and it's not going to be super high scoring. I don't think it's going to be a field goal battle, but this one strikes me as being more like a 24-22 kind of a game.
Kind of like that Bills Dolphins game. Like it's
very similar.
Yeah, because that had the real potential to be just an absolute shootout, and then Tua got hurt, but then it still wasn't a shootout. Like even on the other side of it, like the Bills couldn't get going because the Dolphins defense was stepping up, and the Chiefs do have a good defense. I wouldn't put them in like the great category or anything, but they have the kind of defense that they can have a similar game as what the Dolphins did in that matchup. So it could be
the defense can play up.
Yeah, it could be a slugfest.
Did you know that this is the first time in Patrick Mahomes' career that he's been a home underdog?
Interesting.
Yeah,
I wouldn't know what the other game was.
This is the first time. This is.
You said the first time. There's the second time. Wow.
Yeah. Right now, the Bills are favored by 3.
I am trending in that direction. I think Vegas has it right. And I think my biggest reasoning is just I don't see. I think the Bills are treating this more as like a revenge game for losing that playoff game last year.
That's a good call.
Yeah, I think the Bills have had. I think they've had some struggles here, like not last week, but against the Ravens, against the Dolphins, that they haven't come out as strong as they would have liked to, and have had kind of the letdown games. And so they had the big like kick the dog kind of game last week with the Steelers. But I think this is going to be like the big game that they want to prove like we're legit. We're not just beat the little guys. Like we can beat the big guys too, and they're going to come out and they're going to really come to play and show up like chip on their shoulder kind of game.
I just don't have a read on it.
We just about got him convinced.
I think.
But then there's Mahomes.
Yeah, right. I think that
the Chiefs' wide receiver issues also give me
that's exactly what I was just thinking. If I'm going Juju and MVS versus Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis and Khalil Shakir looking sharp.
And those Buffalo corners are nasty.
Yeah. Yep. And they've got the best pass rushers in the game in this game. The Bills have the best units across the board except for their run game. And part of that is because they don't run the ball just kind of as a matter of choice, except for in close games. If you go look at Devin Singletary's numbers when the Bills blow someone out and Devin Singletary's numbers when the Bills play a close game, he looks very good in close games. He gets big. He gets a lot of touches, 20 plus touches, and he's very productive. And when they're playing, when they're blowing people out, they just don't. It's like they just pedal to the metal. They're just going to keep passing. So they don't emphasize the run game at all. I think that since this is probably going to be a close game, I think that they're going to be running the ball a lot more. And you see the same trend with Josh Allen as well. He doesn't do designed runs nearly as much in blowouts, but in close games they take the shackles off and he runs a lot more. So I just think that there's more upside to this Buffalo offense than there is to the Kansas City offense, knowing that the Kansas City offense is very good. And the Buffalo defense is just significantly better than the Kansas City defense. So I think that those things together should overwhelm the home field advantage. So I'm going to pick Buffalo, and I'm going to say Buffalo by a touchdown.
Ooh, taking the over. We're going. Was there any other game that stood out to you guys?
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say Cowboys-Eagles could be interesting.
That's what I was going to say.
Because the Cowboys have played really well, especially with Cooper Rush, and Cooper Rush has played really well. And like Skylar said, the Eagles have a cupcake schedule coming up. Their schedule up to this point hasn't been like super tough. I don't know that they've really been challenged in particular. I mean, they've had closer games like the Lions and the Jaguars.
Game they had was Lions, yeah.
Yeah, and that was kind of a surprise. Like the Jaguars was a close game, but it wasn't really a close game. Like it was the score was closer than what the game was.
Mm-hmm.
Like they just haven't really been challenged, and also nobody that they've played has had a defense like what Dallas is going to be rolling at them. So that's going to be, I think that's going to be where you see it is the defense of Dallas coming after Jalen Hurts. You'll get to see what Jalen Hurts really has.
Looking at their defense, Philly's got the number 3 pass defense and the number 20 rush defense. And then Dallas has the number 4 pass defense and number 18 rush defense. So both of them are run funnel defenses. On offense, the Eagles are the number 7 pass defense and number 5 run defense, or number 7 pass offense, number 5 run offense, and Dallas are number 17 pass, number 9 run. So they're both run funnels, and both of them have better running games than passing games. This game, I think that this game is probably what's the line on it?
Is Dak playing this week for sure?
I don't think so.
No.
Last week they said he couldn't even grip a football right yet.
Oh,
So
wow.
I think there's probably still another couple games out.
Apparently Peyton couldn't grip a football, and then he threw for 55 touchdowns. But
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like Eagles are favored by 6 with a over-under of 42.
Yeah, I was going to say this strikes me as a game that will play down because both teams want to run the football. Both teams are good at running the football, and both teams are very good at stopping the pass. So that means the clock is going to stay running. Time's going to run out faster. Not going to be as much time to put up points. And it's in Philly. Is that where it is?
Yep.
Yeah, in Philly.
Thanks. Yeah.
I think that I'll take Philly, but I think I'm going to take Philly with Dallas to cover. I think it's going to be a close game.
I am going to go with Philly in a close game as well. I don't think that Hurts is going to play particularly well, but he's going to play better than Cooper Rush. And I would love to see Cooper Rush like go into Philly and win, and just like keep these Cowboys fans talking about how they want to keep rushing over Prescott, just because that would be entertaining. But I don't think that's going to happen.
Here's an interesting bet for you. If you're using like Prize Picks or Underdog or whatever ones they do the head-to-head props, do total passing yards, Hurts or Cooper Rush. That would be an interesting one. I would, depending on what the actual spread on it is there, I might take Cooper Rush.
I could see like Philly get out to a lead, and then Dallas just kind of goes into pass happy mode.
Yeah. And then Hurts, even in leads, even in blowouts, Hurts has passed for like 201 yards.
Yeah.
I'm going with the Cowboys. I
like it.
I feel good. I picked them last week, and I've been picking them pretty consistently, and they've been playing really well. I think that.
By the way, you went 10-6 last week, Justin.
Yeah, I needed a good week.
What was my record?
9-7, I think.
That the defense has seemed to really find its groove and what it's doing. Parsons is amazing as he's going to get in the backfield and be a disruption, and that's going to be on both the running and the passing side of it. Like he's going to be a playmaker on defense, and I think when you see Dallas use a good balance of Zeke and Pollard, they can get a running game going in a more prolific way that it takes the pressure off a Rush. So then all he has to do is just make the easy throws when they start stacking them. There was one series last week where they just sat there and ran the ball over and over again. And even with the Rams trying to stack the box on them, they just kept running the ball over and over again. Like
it's the most demoralizing thing.
Yeah. Like they have the ability to do that, especially, switching those two out and just letting them keep pounding. So I think especially if it's a low scoring game, I think it's going to favor the Cowboys. And so I'm going to go with them to win.
All right. Well, I actually need to get going soon. I don't know if you guys are going to stick around or if we want to call it a night.
I got to run. Do you want to do
All
the
right.
pick real quick on the Monday night game?
Sure.
It is the line. Hold on here. All right, so Chargers are laying 5, over under 45.5. It's in LA, so it's going to be at SoFi in a dome. Not that it matters because it's in LA.
There's no way that it goes over.
Yeah, I'd be pretty
45
surprised.
and a half.
45.5, yeah. I'm gonna pick the Chargers. I think the Chargers, I'm gonna call win and cover.
When at my first glance, I'm like, yeah, Chargers. And I'm like, I don't know. The Chargers haven't played that great thus far. But then I remember Wilson is injured.
Mm-hmm.
And so Chargers.
That's the biggest factor for me. He just never plays well when he's injured.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking is Keenan Allen going to be back? Still
TBD, I think.
Yeah. Even without him, I'm still going to go with the Chargers. I think Herbert is feeling better. I don't think his injury is lingering on him quite as much as it was a couple weeks ago. And just the way that Denver offense can't seem to put anything together even when they put together a good, consistent drive, Russell Wilson throws it away, or they have some inexplicable fumble or something dumb happens. It's just crazy. So yeah, I don't think Denver's defense I don't think Denver's offense can put up points. I think the Chargers will outscore them easily.
Ready to end on this outro?
Play it.
Ryan punting it away. Austin back deep. And the punt taken on the far side by Stedman Bailey. Bailey down the sideline, and he will take it all the way. The Seahawks were faked out by Austin. He set up for the return on the left side. The kick went to the right, and it's Bailey who takes it back 86 yards for a Rams touchdown. That looks like something you see on the internet now with all these trick plays.
Oh,
Pete looked pissed.
A Jared Cook sighting.
He's got John Ryan. Now, when he's out near midfield, he is so consistent.
Kenny Britt sighting.
Kick. It's almost always to the right.
When did that say? This was 2014?
This is 2014. So this is the Seahawks just won the Super Bowl.
Make it look like the ball has drifted to the right. Look at the Seahawks chasing it.
Nice.
And the ball lands up top here on the 10-yard line. Even faked our cameraman out.
That is great preparation by the special teams of the Rams. John Fossil getting his guys to understand that. And when you find something that is so locked on and so perfect that you think you can take an advantage of it, and then you go out and execute it. Pete Carroll's still trying.
All right.
I forgot that Stedman Bailey had to retire because following life-threatening injuries he sustained from being shot in the head. The year after this, it was in 2014 that he
I do not
retired.
remember this at all.
Yeah.
Whoa. Well, that's a weird note to end on, but
looking forward to Brian Robinson on Thursday.
Give us your plug.
Not shot in the head. Follow me on Twitter at RealKingPilled. I haven't been on there for a few weeks now. Just been too busy with life, but this is where you'll find me for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, at J Campbell or at JCamp1521 on Twitter. Fact check this podcast, and then the morning after every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And also, I co-host Peddling Fiction 1 or 2 times a week whenever me and Johnny happen to decide we want to do an episode. So
he's all over the place. I'm also barely on Twitter these days, so just ignore that tag over there in the corner. MarkMets.substack.com. You can find me. See you guys.